Now, we will dig deeper into product value. The world thinks that a customer buys a product, in other words, pays money, which is a type of compensation for a product. But is that really true? Here is a partial reprint of examples of rationale for the fact that value is in the head we saw earlier. Even if the tuna itself is the same, its product value is different depending on the place of origin. Also, even if the analog record itself does not change, its product value changes with the times. And similar events occur countless times, and they serve as evidence that a customer does not buy a product. If a customer buys tuna, that means that a customer buys all or some of the internal attributes of tuna. And if the tuna is the same, that means that it has the same internal attributes, and a customer should pay the same price for the same tuna. However, in reality, the price that a customer pays for the same tuna varies because its product value is different depending on the place of origin. This indicates that a customer does not buy tuna and does buy the value of tuna. Also, if a customer buys an analog record, that means that a customer buys all or some of the internal attributes of an analog record. And if the analog record is the same, that means that it has the same internal attributes, and a customer should pay the same price for the same analog record. However, in reality, the price that a customer pays for an analog record varies because its product value changes with the times. This indicates that a customer does not buy an analog record and does buy the value of an analog record. That is to say, a customer does not buy a product itself, but the product value that a product creates in the head. In other words, they pay not for a product itself, but for the product value that a product creates in the head. However, please note that this discussion does not mean that a customer does not need a product. Without a product, there will be no recognition of a product, and without the recognition of a product, there will be no action of the recognition of a product, which is product value. Therefore, there is no doubt that in order for a customer to pay for and enjoy the product value, a customer does need a product. To simplify the discussion, in this lecture, as the world does, in some cases we say buying a product, or pay for a product instead of buy the product value, or pay for the product value.